Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Town Manager Download, a podcast about local government in the town of Shrewsbury. I'm Kevin Mizikar, the Town Manager of the town of Shrewsbury, and as always, I'm joined by Communications Coordinator Taylor Galusha.
In today's episode, we are going to be joined by Chris Roy, General Manager of Selco, and Joel Malaver, Director of Broadband Technologies for Selco, to discuss Selco's Fiber to the Home initiative and fiber infrastructure in general.
What's going on, Taylor? What have you been up to?
Well, we had an exciting weekend at MMA in Boston.
Connect
Not to be
351?
mixed up with
What's that?
not to be mixed up with the other MMA.
Oh,
but,
not mixed martial arts. Yeah, good annual conference of the Massachusetts Municipal Association. A lot of folks in attendance, a lot of good sessions, a lot of great educational opportunities throughout the weekend.
meeting great minds that are kind of all over the state doing new and exciting things
Yeah.
that we get to bring back home to Shrewsbury.
Yeah.
So,
Any big takeaways from that?
I don't know. I guess there's just always more we could be doing. There's always room to grow in what we're being innovative in and learning new things. So I think as long as we keep trying to seek out those opportunities, we'll keep making Shrewsbury the best local government in the world.
And I know you'll join me in congratulating our colleague Julia Novak for being appointed as the Executive Director of ICMA.
Yes.
So that news broke on Friday while we were all there, which was
Exciting.
good. Julia was there for a session on succession planning, which was a good session. So congratulations to her. Look forward to working with her in that new role.
Yeah. It's exciting. Got a lot going on in Shrewsbury. So what's up in the shoe?
Oh, yeah, we have a bunch of things coming up. February 4th is probably a date that's on a lot of people's minds right now. It is the special election with regards to town meetings action on MBTA zoning. So it'll be an opportunity for registered voters townwide to weigh in whether they want to uphold the decision the town meeting made and put the MBTA compliant zoning in place, or if they seek to overturn that action, which would take us out of compliance, or have to find a new path to compliance with everything that's happened with the Supreme Judicial Court ruling being handed down and the law being found constitutional. We have a clear path forward to compliance at this point, with draft and emergency regulations already in hand. So the good news through all that is that we're confident that the zone that was passed by town meeting meets all those criteria because nothing has changed. So we look forward to seeing how voters will react and vote on February 4th, and we'll go from there.
And they can expect some information in the mail if they're a registered voter regarding what a yes and a no vote means. So be on the lookout. Yeah, be on the lookout for that helpful information.
Right. I believe they went out of the postal facility on Friday. Yeah.
I think so too.
Some folks may have gotten them already, and others will be receiving them within the next day or so.
Kind of in the same vein, nomination papers for the annual town election have been made available. So people, quote unquote, pull papers. It's to become any of the elected positions. So town meeting members, if you want to run for school committee or select board or the board of or the library board of trustees or Shrewsbury Housing Authority, those are all elected roles in our community. So you have to collect some signatures for that, and it varies depending on the position, but all the papers have to be returned to the town clerk's office by 5 p.m. on March 18th. So I think that's another great way for people to get involved, is becoming a town meeting member and running for elected office in general.
Yeah. And I guess the final thing that's on my mind, I'm happy to report that the courts have finally made a ruling on the 1 through 7 Maple Avenue appeal of the planning board decision, and the courts have decided to uphold the planning board decision. They found that three things I think that stood out most to me in their ruling: that the neighbors lack standing, that the project complies with the town center zoning district bylaws and aligns with the town's master plan and our vision for the town center. And finally, that the planning board's decision was found reasonable and consistent with the bylaw. So it also affirmed the approval of all the special permits that were issued. So that's really good news for the developer and for the town as we are looking to redevelop that area and move forward with a new vision for the town center. It affirms that that zoning bylaw that we have in place is well constructed and that the planning board understands its level of authority to operate underneath it. And we look forward to that project moving forward in the near future. So it's been a long time coming, and we're pleased with how the court has ruled on that matter.
So what can people expect in the next couple of months driving through the center?
Yeah, so I mean, I don't think you're going to see a lot of physical changes in the next few months. So it kind of restarts the clock on our land disposition agreement with the developer, and they'll have to start mustering their resources, and we'll go through some more behind the scenes administrative parts of that land disposition agreement, including selling the land actually, closing on the property, and allow them to move forward with pulling building permits. I hope that if there's one silver lining to this, that we received a decision in January, is that that administrative work can get done before construction is really viable, and then that the developer would move forward in the spring when the weather breaks and see a lot of progress on site, before next winter comes or the end of next summer after the construction season's over, that it's really quite remarkably different by that time.
Awesome.
So I'm really excited for today's episode with two great leaders in Selco. We're going to be talking about the fiber to the home project and a lot of other changes that Selco is making to modernize their infrastructure and bring better services to residents. And we'll pick up on a conversation that we had with General Manager Chris Roy, in a previous episode, and we'll link to that episode if folks are interested in. But today we're really looking to the future of Selco, this new fiber infrastructure that we're putting in place that will serve the residents, not only directly as consumers, but how we operate as a town and the robust services that we can provide, and see what else is in store for this particular side of Selco in servicing our residents. So at this time, I'd like to welcome Chris Roy and Joelle Malaver to the Town Manager Download. So Chris, welcome back, and Joelle, welcome to the Town Manager Download. We're so pleased to have both of you on today for this exciting conversation. As we do with all of our guests, we'll give you all the opportunity to just, Chris, in your instance, reintroduce yourself and tell us about the position you're in.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having me back. I'm always happy to talk all things Selco and utility. As a refresher, I've been in Shrewsbury since 2020, and had been at a couple of other communities prior to that, and it's been an exciting time, both on the cable and electric sides during the last several years. So we have a lot of things to talk about.
Perfect. How about you, Joel? Why don't you introduce yourself to the listeners and provide a little background and talk about your current position as the Director of Broadband Technologies for Selco.
Sure. Thank you for the invite. Yes, my name is Joe Malaver. I started at Selco back in 2006. I started in the help desk, and when I started, young in my career, I had the opportunity to have great mentors that kind of guided me through the telecommunication industry. I developed that passion. They encouraged me, went to school, got my engineering degree, and I have a great 18 years at Selco, and I'm now the Director of Broadband Technologies.
That's awesome. So let's start with the basics. I know you guys deal in the details every day, but just what is it that we mean when we say fiber and fiber to the home, and how is that different than either what some residents had or what they used to have?
Sure. So when I started working for Celco, we only had what's called a traditional cable plant, where we were very limited to the speeds and the services that could be provided to our customers. So as technology evolved, the entire industry is heading more into fiber. As a fact, our cable plant is called HFC, which is Hybrid Fiber Coaxial System. So we were using fiber back in the 1990s when we went with the whole cable digital transformation. And I guess the next step in the industry is to bring that fiber straight into the customers' premises or businesses, which allow for us as a provider to provide symmetrical speeds like 1 gigabit up and down, which is something that the cable industry or the cable technology or DSL could not do, and that was the biggest limitation. So that is kind of why we started with this big push to build fiber everywhere in town.
So you talked a little bit about the speeds there, but beyond speed, or what else would residents see, or what other benefits would residents see as we upgrade this entire system and bring fiber to the home?
So one of the biggest, so today with fiber, they're having it's almost limitless, the capacity that the actual that the glass or fiber optics can do through lasers. So that is one big advantage. Today, even our computers cannot handle the maximum speeds that fiber technology can actually deliver to the premises. Another big advantage is also how much reliable it is. The cable plant relies on actives or amplifiers, which at the same time they need electricity. With fiber, the light goes straight from the head end or data center straight into the customer premises. So for example, when there are storms and people lose power, before the cable plant will lose power and there will be no services. But with fiber, that's not the case. It's also more durable. Fiber optics can last up to 50 years, 30 to 50 years, versus coaxial. It usually has a lifespan of about 20. So that's, one of the many advantages that fiber optics has, for example.
So it's like a cost benefit.
Yes. There was we went through all of that when we decided to go fiber to the home. We started doing our cost analysis, and again, as a company that is trying to provide the best investment for the community. When we were researching, at the end, so for example, there was something called DOCSIS 4.0, which is a technology that other providers are using. But when we started researching that technology, it was almost like a 70% investment of the actual fiber, the fiber build out. And at the end, it's like after DOCSIS 4, DOCSIS 5 almost, it's like you're bringing fiber again closer and closer to the premises. And that's kind of where the leadership decided, no, we should start. Just rip up that Band-Aid and go all the way with fiber.
So as you said, Celco's been working on the Fiber to the Home initiative since 2019. Can you tell us a little bit more about this initiative and where we're actually at and the installation process?
Sure. We actually started in 2017. We started with the old SPACS complex. When the old SPAC complex was rebuilt as a Lakeway Commons, we took that leap of faith, and it was kind of our pilot. Everyone was learning the technology. We were new, but we took that leap of faith, and the technology ended up to be very reliable, easy to build. And after 2017, we continued doing more developing in-house. And in 2019, that's when we started building some of the areas that were running out of capacity. This is when we say running out of capacity, this is when the smart homes started becoming more of the common type of day-to-day operations. Surveillance cameras, customers started using surveillance cameras at home, like Ring and all these other
Wi-Fi fridges.
Wi-Fi fridges, yes. And so the cable, and that's where we started seeing that the cable infrastructure was not robust enough, and we decided to continue building more and more on fiber. And of course, 2020 came. During the pandemic, that was the biggest push. If you remember, I always remember that day, March 16th of 2020. People had to work remote, and we saw so much consumption. A couple of weeks later, then the school department started doing classes remote. And the good thing is we had a good, robust system. And we were able to sustain some of the usage, but we needed more, and this is where fiber comes in. And so we are right now we have about 64% of the town built. You can, on our website, there is a map showing what's currently built, and customers in those areas can call, and we're actively reaching out to them and asking them to convert to fiber, to migrate to fiber, as we want to decommission the old plant. And the fiber optic system, it's, again, more reliable, easy to maintain, and we're hoping to complete that build out hopefully by the end of the year, or if not, early next year.
So, Chris, I think we talked about this a little bit whenever you were on the last time. The concept of the internet being, so valuable to people. It's more like a public utility, like electricity, like water and sewer. What benefits do Shrewsbury residents and business owners in the town see from the internet being thought of that way, and it being under Selco's control versus maybe in the hands of a private commodity or private business?
Sure. Well, I appreciate you asking that question, because at least in my opinion, that perhaps is one of the most important questions that I think a lot of the general public, and I'm not just speaking about Shrewsbury, just general public more broadly, nationally, don't quite fully have insight into, is our business model for the services that we provide, in this case, internet, but electricity on the other side of Selco, is critical to the well-being of the economy, society. It's no longer like at the outset, say it started with electricity, obviously before internet, that it was a nice to have. Starting out, the wealthy had that, and then as it grew, it became an essential need for every economy across the world. And now there's a couple of decade lag, I'd say, if you will. Now internet and connectivity, as we see, is becoming that essential service. And so underlying all of that is the why and the how, which what I mean by that is the business model. And so, I've tried many different analogies. I'll throw out a new one here, but I imagine something like police and fire services, right? It's not, hey, we're going to respond to a call for profit. Our services are purely for the well-being, in this case, for Shrewsbury. So whether we're talking internet, electricity, perhaps TV or phone, all services fall under this umbrella that every decision made is for the well-being and the public good of Shrewsbury. There's no additional profit margins that then get skimmed off to send to shareholders who knows where, and every decision is made to evaluate how it makes Shrewsbury more prosperous. So that, and there are a number of data points to underscore that. And so that's why it's so important.
So, Joel, do you remember those conversations back in 2017 or as we were looking at the cable plant? Like, what role did what Chris just described have in that decision-making process? So you said, like, we could, and I know you're a Shrewsbury resident, right? Like,
Yes.
we could invest, 70% in this solution that takes us halfway there or a quarter of the way there or three-quarters of the way there versus going all in. So what, like, in the public good, like, was that discussed whenever those decisions were being made?
Yes, definitely. If you recall, our past Commissioner Cliff Jefferson, he was a big advocate of making that the best investment for the community, and he was always looking. He always had his financial, expert hat. He was very good on the financial side of things, and he was always looking at that return of investment. How long would that investment take us through? And that was one of the things that we were looking at, the investment we were going to make in continuing on the cable side of the plan. They were only going to last about 10 years, and 10 years later, we will have to reinvest again. And that's where, again, doing the analysis and studies, we came out to the conclusion of, let's make, this investment is going to be a little bit larger, but the rate of return of the life expectancy of this new plant is definitely 2 or 3 times more than to continue investing in the regular traditional legacy cable.
Even with like the fiber versus the coaxial cables, like you'd have to replace those twice before you'd have to replace the fiber.
Exactly, exactly, and also
it's like labor too, like the amount of work that has to go into replacing them,
and that was
plus the cost of the actual materials.
And that was the thing. Labor-wise, is the same because you are installing cable on the poles. So instead of installing cable on the poles, you're now installing fiber, which that medium is going to last you more. So yes, those were definitely, we did a lot of numbers analysis, and by the time Chris started with us, it was about figuring out, okay, let's do this. And yeah, it has been successful so far.
So how different are the packages that you can offer to the customers / residents through fiber as far as speeds or other offerings in the fiber environment versus the cable environment?
Sure. Before you go, because I know you definitely speak to the technical aspects of that, I view it as the primary internet benefit of fiber being the symmetrical capabilities of that technology. And I think in some ways, summarizing what you said a few minutes ago, you can't look past just basic physics. The physics of trying to deliver and transport data on a coax line, which is metal, subject to corrosion like anything else. Like, there are going to be limits, and as our technology advances, so does the transport mechanism. Hence, now we're into glass. Who knows what will be next? But so now, I think, segueing to your additional technology aspect of this, the internet is now the foundation for everything. Internet drives your phone, whereas phone was a separate technology before. Internet drives your TV, which was separate before. Now that bandwidth and that speed and that reliability is now the backbone for everything we do, whether it be webinars or e-commerce or telehealth or anything like that.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like Chris was mentioning, being able to provide the higher speed it's kind of the end game on the telecommunication side of things. Being able to provide smart cities, and even when we're talking about smart vehicles, autonomous vehicles, they rely on that higher bandwidth that technologies like cable could not sustain. So on the packages that we currently offer 4 packages today. We have bronze, which is 50 meg symmetrical. We have silver, and again, this is on the fiber side. Silver is 250. megs. Gold is 500 and platinum is a gig. On the cable side, for example, silver is about 40% lower, and we cannot provide that symmetrical speed. So on silver, for example, is 150 megs on downloading, but uploading is only 5 because that's what the technology can sustain. Versus on the fiber side is 250 over 250. We're also we're now in the process of even deploying, and we're not fully built yet, but we're already deploying a new technology that is going to be feeding everything. That technology is going to be able to provide a speed up to 10 gigs of capacity. So we have it here in the head end, for example. We are doing our being super geeky and playing with it. That's kind of what I mentioned earlier. Even our computers cannot even keep up with the amount of the speed that you can get. So we feel that which on the cable side, that was not the case. On the cable side, our computers were demanding more. Even Microsoft, for example, our Microsoft computer or PC-enabled computers or even MacBooks, they're constantly updating, upgrading, and that requires that constant connectivity to the internet. Like I mentioned earlier, the smart homes, the Ring cameras. I didn't realize when I switched over from cable to fiber, I didn't realize how much extra bandwidth my home, which is not a big house. I just have 2 kids, their PlayStations, and smart TVs, nothing out of the ordinary. But how much more bandwidth it was demanding. Of course, I do have the data to analyze it. I'm being geeky. I can see how much on the cable side, my home was being choked out of capacity versus on the fiber side. As soon as I migrated to fiber, at the lowest speed available, it was that upstream that it was demanding more. It was my fridge trying to update and talking to Samsung and telling my wife that we needed to buy something more.
Now, and as technology keeps developing, I'm sure we'll need that extra.
Yes,
capacity.
that is correct. And with teleworking, telecommuting, that requires, so a lot of our businesses are the ones that are demanding that higher throughput. So there's a couple of businesses in town that they do telemedicine, and they require that when a CAT scan it's performed, there's someone in somewhere else actually diagnosing the data and actually telling someone local how to proceed with it. So that's where that higher throughput of that the better technology brings, it becomes a necessity.
Yeah.
So Chris mentioned it just a couple minutes ago on the entertainment side of things, or the conventional TV side of things. It was called cable TV, right? It went through the cable, and now we're moving to fiber and get rid of the cable. And I know many Shrewsbury residents have had to switch from cable to Selco Stream. So can you talk about that side of the business and what's going on with Selco Stream and that market in general from where it was?
Sure. That's another good question. I think this is one of those points to underscore what we're talking about with just operating environment changes that we're seeing in these industries, not just in Shrewsbury. So our transition through technology-driven reasons to an over-the-top product, being Selco Stream, has these other strings attached, which even outside of our own deployment, where we're seeing people cut the cord, if you will, and choose Hulu or Netflix or Fubo or any number of a dozen or so providers out there, that changes how the revenue is distributed up. And so in this case, tying together the Shrewsbury Media Connection element, where you asked about internet packages that we have the TV packages. Those TV packages incorporate funding mechanisms for local benefits like SMC. And so one of the things that we're involved in and trying to make our voice heard is whether people stay with Selco Stream or opt for a Prime or Netflix. Those YouTube TV, those services don't pay the franchise fees or the public benefit component of our rate making, essentially shifting those resources out of Shrewsbury and sending them elsewhere. Now that also is difficult for us in a rate making standpoint, because now those public benefits that we're trying to keep local are not in the rate making of these outside mega conglomerates. So not only do they have economies of scale, they also don't have any requirements to participate in any local funding initiatives. And so that's what we're trying to do at the same time, is make sure we're competitive in that front, where we're doing the right thing and keeping our mission at the forefront, at the same time trying to keep this as a level playing field, so to speak, to make sure even if you're a multi-billion-dollar conglomerate, you're not going to drain local resources. You should at least participate.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of I guess that struggle. So we still retain that's an ongoing discussion. I'm sure that you could add to through your experience, but that's what we're looking at to make sure we're going to continue to uphold our franchise agreements and things like that. It's just others like YouTube and Hulu and Netflix don't have that, and so there's some uncertainty about where that's going to go.
Great. So Selco Stream is it the only product that's still, like, there's no traditional cable product left in Shrewsbury, or is there still both, or what's the status of that?
Yep, good question. That is the only television product available, traditional product, if you will.
Yeah.
And we monitor that because, again, it is a changing environment. So we're seeing on a fairly regular basis where these TV, for these outside providers, I just happen to use YouTube TV or Fubo, their packages are changing. Their rates are going up. We're seeing this trend perhaps to, where it once was a smaller subset of channels you could get from an over-the-top internet provider to more like a traditional linear provider, if you will. So currently our thinking is there's going to be a bell curve where we'll try and make sure Stream gets more tailored to what people are looking for, and and then their costs and their introductory rates will go by the wayside, and then we'll see where we end up in terms of a competitive playing field there, and I think we'll come out in a favorable position.
Yeah. Well, certainly the product on the non-traditional cable side has changed during this time, but I cut the cord maybe 13 years ago, and I can tell you the price, the prices have just continued to go up. It's no longer a savings venture for everyone or a cheap alternative to anything. It's a more robust package, but it's, the same price as a more traditional cable approach had been. So that's been not so fun to experience.
Exactly. And I think that's how we look at it too, at least even the way it is today. It is a premium option. You get every channel. You get all the high def offerings. So if you actually boil it down by channel, we are a very economical option. It's challenging in this case where, if you're only watching a handful of channels, the way the broadcast industry works is it's an all-in deal, almost like buying a car. If you want power windows, we have to get the nav system.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's similar challenges that we face through.
So let's look to the future a little bit. Joelle, you have all the industry insight, I know, and so is there any product that currently is out there that competes with fiber? Is fiber future-proof as we sit here today in early 2025? Where's the industry headed?
In my short experience in the telecommunication world, the hard cable or the hard connection always provides a higher throughput or better connectivity. When 4G came out, and they were, of course, selling the providers, the 4G providers were selling that they were going to take over the world, and cable, as we know today, was going to cease to exist. However, they are limited because they are basically using the same technology that you use over cable, with the differences that you're now limited to what's called line of sight, or you gotta be nearby an antenna, but at the same time, when you have too many customers or too many people sharing that antenna, then your speed slows down. Versus when you have a dedicated cable, that is your connection. You're not sharing that connection with anyone else, and especially on the fiber side of things, having so much capacity. That's where today, even 5G, 6G coming out, the technologies that 5G and 6G are using are the same technologies that you can have now with a hardwired connection to your home. Again, the biggest difference is you're not sharing it. So that is your connectivity, your own connection, which you can use during peak times where everyone is streaming. And that's where you see that slow speeds here and there. And that's what I say today. But they're already talking even on the fiber side of things. Even though we're deploying 10 gig, they're already talking about 50 gigs. And when you are comparing that with your wireless provider, your traditional wireless provider, if 5G is kind of competing with that 1 gig connectivity, 6G is trying to bring 10 gig. But that's what I'm saying. I mean, the fiber technology side is already ahead. So that's kind of today.
I honestly have not heard 6G until right now. So is this like
Nice.
breaking news?
Could be.
It has been out.
be.
They've been talking for a while.
Interesting.
About 6G.
Yeah.
But even 5G today, even to have that perfect connectivity on 5G, you almost have to be you have to have your own antenna basically at your home, so your devices are not sharing it, and it's affected by the weather, it's affected by foliage. So you will get better speed during the fall or even winter when there is no foliage, versus when the spring comes and now foliage affects connectivity.
Yep.
So yeah, that's kind of where that hardwired technology we feel is better, and that's why Celco has been investing on having that kind of infrastructure. However, even on the Wi-Fi side of things, that's also advancing, which is key. For example, as Chris was mentioning about Celco Stream, that is one of the things that we've been seeing. That was one of the biggest struggle, or that learning curve on learning how to support the technology. It's having the adequate Wi-Fi technology at home. So we have customers who had no Wi-Fi whatsoever, and now they have to stream. So we have to support them. We have to help them setting up their Wi-Fi devices. And that is the majority of the calls that we get in our help desk, is assisting customers with their, when they are experiencing or mentioning that picture is breaking up, it's usually, again, that Wi-Fi technology.
So that's that's on like the customer side of the modem, not what Celco's pushing out.
Which, again, because we're seeing that need to get deeper into the customer premises, that's one of the initiatives that we're trying to, this year, that's one of our goals. We want to push Wi-Fi deeper into the customers' homes. We want to offer mesh systems where, again, if you have a home, you have... Sometimes it's not just about how large your home may be, because you could be in an apartment, but if you have 20 devices online, that's where your Wi-Fi connection dropped tremendously. And again, that's where... having a robust Wi-Fi system is definitely going to help that experience with all your smart home entertainment systems, and even updating your smart vehicle now.
Right.
I would just add, I think, just to compare two industries that people are familiar with. I think a big difference between or cable or broadband and electricity is where they're similar in that electricity, everyone is familiar, gets delivered right to the side of your home. There's a meter, and then once you're inside your home, what vacuum you connect to it or what TV is up to you. And we know the quality of that electricity to your home. Mm-hmm. Broadband gets more challenging because where we're connecting the fiber to the side of your house, that's not where we stop. After that, now you're connecting your computer or your streaming device or your fridge. And now if that isn't configured appropriately, now it's like, well, that comes back to us for questions, mm-hmm. which, we're looking to extend that reach to say, hey, we have a managed service that, while perhaps the majority of us are not networking experts, mm-hmm. to say, hey, we can leverage the networking experts, again, tying back to that local benefit and extend past the side of your house, so to speak, into your home with a service that is going to give you as reliable a connection on the Wi-Fi side as it does for a hardline connection.
I appreciate that. And I appreciate what you're saying there, Chris, because that is a unique service that I'm sure Selco is more than, or I know Selco is more than willing to provide, but you may not get that with a larger corporation that doesn't have those connections into calling its customers, also its residents, and really partnering. And
exactly.
I certainly know that that's one of the things that residents benefit so much from with having Selco as their utility provider for all aspects, including internet, and it makes Shrewsbury one of the best places and the best local governments in the world. So I want to thank both of you guys for all the work that you've done and bringing these enhanced services and finding new ways to service residents. But before we go, we have one final segment to have a little bit of fun with. If you guys are willing.
Always willing.
All right. So
we're up for fun.
What is your best favorite? I know you both are very active people. Sport, activity, leisure. What do you do in your leisure time to really keep moving and burn off some of that extra energy that you have?
Wow.
Taylor and I will answer as well.
So, really?
Yeah, this is a all hands on
collective
deck
effort.
Yeah.
I guess I'll go.
Yeah,
first.
You can go first.
All right. Well, I'll have to say, every night of the week except for Friday, I am a basketball coach.
Okay.
So I do very much enjoy both coaching and playing basketball. That's while, for the listeners that know my football past, I'm not minimizing that. But today, it's a lot harder to actually play football at my age than basketball. So that's great. And without going into the whole coaching element of things, I didn't set out as a coach, but once I got involved, I was like, wow, this is great. And it's a really interesting, different way to look at it. Just because you might have played something for a long time, I feel like the transition to coach can be a whole different element of the game. So It's been fun.
Awesome.
Well, in my case, I think you know this, Kevin. Your predecessor, Morgado, Dan Morgado, got me into cycling.
Yeah.
So it was a great way to burn that extra energy, and I used to enjoy. He used to always kick my butt, take me to hills, and make me suffer before getting to work. We used to meet at 5 a.m. and I would be sweating, huffing and puffing, then shower and back to work. And also, since we are here in New England, so winter is also a big section or time. So I do a little bit of skiing, and I was actually mentioning to Chris right after the show, the podcast, I gotta go to the ski club with Shrewsbury High.
Awesome. That's great.
That's fun.
All right, Taylor. What's the best sport or activity?
I'm running again, so that's good. I don't know if I can say I like it.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it's kicking my butt because I
Yeah.
haven't ran since the summer.
Yeah.
But it's nice to just kind of put your headphones in and be mindless for a little bit.
Yeah,
Just making sure I don't get kidnapped or hit by cars.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's a good idea.
Those are two good,
Yeah.
good
Those are
things
good
to
objectives.
avoid.
Running goals.
Yeah. So,
Those are my only goals when it comes to running.
Yeah. Well, I'm a runner too. I think most people know that, so I enjoy spending many hours a week doing that. Clears my head and burns my energy for sure as well. I'm also a skier, but I have not gone yet this year. We've been so busy with a variety of things every weekend, and I don't really have enough time to squeeze any night sessions in. But I'm a little disappointed that it's almost the end of January and we haven't been out yet. But well, I just want to thank both of you again for coming on the Town Manager Download. This has been a really great opportunity for residents and listeners to learn how progressive we are in providing services to residents and how we treat the internet much like a public utility, as we think all local governments should have the opportunity to do. So if anyone has a question or a comment, you can always reach out to us at tmdownload@shrewsburyma.gov. On behalf of Taylor Galusha, I'm Kevin Mizikar. Thank you for listening.